Okay, going a little bit of a different direction. We've been kind of looking at the Ramseys a lot, and I want to look at something a little bit different. So here we're looking at what is called the mysterious and chilling case of the Halls Mills unalivings, and if you wonder why I say that, it's because like YouTube is very, they don't like you saying certain things. So I try to be safe. So before we get started, though, I want to introduce you to a friend of mine. She's out in LA. I'm over here in DC, but she's out in LA, and she's not asking me to do this. Doesn't even know I do this. But she has a candle line. I don't know if you guys can see this, but she has a candle line. This one says Citrus Oasis, and I've been kind of, burning it. It's what is this, like wax soy candles, something like that. It's a hint of orange, tangerine, grapefruit, strawberries, black currant. She also has I have a lot of candles from her. Sweet Thang is also dope. She has one called Him, right? I love this one. As you can see, I'm almost done. See, this is the problem with me. I have a lot of these candles because they're like treasures to me. And I first of all, I love candles. Second of all, these candles smell so good that I'm like hoarding them. So I love Him. This is a dope smell. But she just recently came out with Her. I don't know if you guys can see that. Maybe the light's too bright. But she just came out with, trust me, it says Her. She just came out with this. That smell is so dope. And this is what she also did. This is like Him body spray. It's a body spray and it's a room spray. So you can use it as a body spray and a room spray. It's equally good at both. I actually use it for the restroom. It's like it carries really well. So if you spray it in the restroom, it's a full transparency. You spray it in the restroom, which I do. I spray it in the restroom. You leave the door open, in a matter of minutes or something like that. I'm not gonna say seconds, but in a matter of minutes, it like kind of starts floating to the front. So in my apartment, it starts floating to the front. Very potent. So she didn't ask me to do that. It has nothing to do with anything, but I just thought these candles are so dope. You got to check her out. The name of the channel, I'm going to link it. It's going to be, or I'm going to kind of put up a screenshot. It's Aura D Franchon. That's AuraDefranchon. Again, that's Aura D Franchon. The owner's name is Desiree. She's dope. She's the homie. So go check her out. Support her. auradfranchon.com. She also has an Instagram. If you find her, if you'll know her because she's light skinned and her curls are she has long hair. Curls are popping. You'll know her. But anyways, let's jump into this case. I became intrigued by this case because, I have a background in ministry and stuff like that. Grew up as a preacher's kid. And so, I just wanted to see, apparently this is a reverend. And I think the story was, and this is a blind react, so I don't really know what the story was. Apparently they were messing around, and so something happened. We don't know what happened, so we're just gonna check it out.
Today we are looking at a case from the first part of the 20th century. So sit back as we go to the USA. Case. Edward Wheeler Hall was born on the 12th of June 1881 in Kings County, New York, into a deeply religious family with strong ties to the Episcopal Church. He was the eldest of two children born to Edward Douglas Hall, a devoted churchgoer and respected community member, and Fanny Burstow Hyde Hall, who came from a family with a long-standing tradition of religious involvement. Both parents highly valued education and instilled in their children a strong sense of duty and morality. Edward attended local schools in Brooklyn, where he excelled academically and demonstrated an early interest in religious studies. His parents encouraged his intellectual curiosity and nurtured his developing faith. After completing his secondary education, Edward studied further and not only received a rigorous academic education, but he also became deeply involved in religious activities. Recognizing his potential, his parents supported his decision when he decided that he wanted to pursue a career in the clergy. After completing his undergraduate studies, he attended a theological seminary in New York City, where he received comprehensive theological and pastoral training. Known for his eloquence, compassion, and dedication.
I'm not gonna lie, and I know it's not. Can't remember the name of the school. Brooks School of Public Policy. That looks like Brooks School of Public Policy on Cornell's campus, like upstate New York. That's what that looks like, but I know that's not the case. Probably not even.
He eventually became the rector of the St. John the Evangelist Episcopal Church in New Brunswick in New Jersey. Here he was a popular figure. His sermons were praised for their depth and clarity, and his pastoral care was highly valued. He tirelessly supported his community through various social and charitable activities, earning widespread respect and admiration for his charisma and genuine concern for his parishioners. In 1911, Edward married Frances Noel Stevens, a woman from a prominent New Brunswick family who was 7 years his senior. However, from the moment they walked down the aisle, there were whispers that the Reverend's true motive in marriage was not love, but his wife's substantial fortune. Despite their different backgrounds, Edward, who had been raised in a modest home, and Frances, whose parents were known for their wealth and influence, the marriage appeared to be happy. However, unknown to most, it was actually fraught with underlying tensions, particularly concerning financial matters, social expectations, and Edward's fondness for certain female members of his congregation. One such lady was named Mrs. Eleanor Reinhardt Mills. She was from New Brunswick, having been born there in 1888. She had a humble upbringing and possessed a strong passion for singing. In 1905, she had married Mr. James Mills, a devoted individual who balanced the role.
There's going to be a problem here. People with money, from what I'm seeing with her, if I'm looking at her face and she has money, she's not going to be flashy. You know, I'm not going to throw this. She's a humble brag kind of person. So, you know, I got cash, but I'm not going to tell you I got cash. I want you to know I come from a family with money. That's going to be her thing. And so her energy is like, y'all know me around the city. You know what it is. But then, and that's kind of her claim to fame. She's probably philanthropic in some way. I don't know. Could be the case. That would be her claim to fame.
Edward's fondness for certain female members of his congregation. One such lady was.
But looking at her compared to this other lady, I could see, if this is the case, why he would go for her. Especially if you consider, I know these are older pictures, but if you consider people moving in motion, I don't know how old they were when they got married, but if that lady was 7 years his senior, his wife was 7 years his senior, she definitely looks a little bit older. I'm not saying she looks bad, I'm saying she looks older. But if you look at this young lady right here, she definitely looks a little bit younger and more lively, and especially if she's a singer, then she's probably a little bit more, she probably has a beautiful voice that he might be attracted to, and she's probably a little bit more spontaneous. He might like that. Sometimes you're drawn to people who are more spontaneous and maybe opposite. And so, you know, as a parishioner, man of the cloth, you are possibly drawn to things that are exciting and are outside. If you're exploring your religion, or you're exploring the bounds of your religion, then you're probably drawn to things that, you know, because she probably came out and she's probably just a church member. She's not, you know, she's probably not super crazy and super religious. And she's like, I'm there. I love God, and, you know, but, you know, I'm not perfect, but, you know, I am who I am, but I can sing, and, you know, I might be a little bit edgy. So that could be the case as we're starting to formulate something here.
Mills. She was from New Brunswick, having been born there in 1888. She had a humble upbringing and possessed a strong passion for singing. In 1905, she had married Mr. James Mills, a devoted individual who balanced the roles of acting sexton at St. John the Evangelist Episcopal Church and a full-time janitor at Lord Stirling Elementary School. Together they had 2 children, Charlotte, born in 1906, and Daniel, born 4 years later in 1910. Eleanor was known for her contributions as a choir singer at St. John the Evangelist Episcopal Church. Not only did she sing at the services, she also faithfully attended choir practice. However, unsettling rumours began to circulate, suggesting that Mrs. Eleanor Mills was engaged in an improper relationship with the Reverend Edward Wheeler Hall. On the morning of the 16th of September 1922, a man named Raymond Schneider and a young lady named Pearl Bummer were walking in a secluded area on DeRusses Lane, located near Phillips Farm near the western outskirts of New Brunswick. Apparently, they were searching for mushrooms. As they approached a crab apple tree, they noticed a man and a woman lying underneath it, their feet pointing towards the tree. However, something did not seem right. The woman's face was covered with a shawl, and the man's face was obscured by a hat. Raymond approached the couple, but they did not move. Feeling anxious, he carefully lifted the man's hat, but he was met with a gruesome sight. The man was dead, having been shot once in the head. He then removed the woman's shawl. She too was dead, having been shot 3 times, once under the right eye, once in the right temple, and once above the right ear.
Ooh.
Additionally, her throat...
How many did he get hit? How many times did he get hit compared to her? Because that could tell us who did it. Because whoever it was, it depends on how many times she got hit. Crime of passion, depending on how many times she got hit. Could have been the husband, could have been his wife. And either he did it to her to be like, yo, how could you betray me? But that would seem more like the wife. His wife would have done that. Yo, because she hit her everywhere. I think she caught him once.
The right eye, once in the right temple, and once in the right 3 times, and removed the woman's shawl. Feeling anxious, he carefully lifted the man's hat, but he was met with a gruesome sight. The man was dead, having been shot in the head. He then removed the woman's shawl.
He got hit once. So maybe somebody, I walked up on you, I already knew where y'all was. So if they're out here in this field and somebody, somehow, some way, if the bodies weren't moved, we assume. I know somehow, some way you're out in this field. I know that. And I walk up on you and stay where you at. Don't move. Beg for your life. Face the tree. And then she catches her because he got hit in the head. And then the other lady, she probably went second. So she got him out the way, but then she probably tortured the young lady that he was sleeping with. That's why she got hit in the temple, hit in the eye. That's why she got hit several times. But I don't think that's something that the husband would do. That would seem like because that seems like that's more of a vicious thing. And that would seem something more like I think the wife would have done that.
2 was dead, having been shot once under the right eye, once in the right temple, and once above the right ear.
So she had to be standing in front of them, maybe?
Additionally, her throat had been cut. It also appeared that the bodies had been deliberately...
Oh yeah, I think that's the wife.
...positioned in a manner suggesting a ritualistic display. Their arms had been placed so they almost touched each other. Raymond and Pearl quickly hurried away to inform the authorities. 2 policemen soon arrived and immediately began to survey the area. They realised there was no sign of a weapon, indicating that the couple had probably been... As they examined the surroundings more closely, they noticed a calling card, which seemed to have been carefully placed at the man's feet. Scattered around the bodies were torn up letters. The policemen painstakingly pieced them together and discovered that they were filled with expressions of love and affection, adding a poignant and tragic element to the scene. In their meticulous observations, the officers noted several key details about the woman. She was wearing a wedding ring, and beside her lay a blue velvet hat. Her attire was distinctive, a red polka dot dress that stood out vividly against the somber surroundings. These details not only provided clues about her possible identity, but also added to the macabre display that confronted the investigators. However, the initial investigation was complicated by a jurisdictional issue. The crime scene was near the border between the counties of Somerset and Middlesex. Although the police from New Brunswick, located in Middlesex County, had arrived first, it was soon discovered that the crime scene was actually within Franklin Township in Somerset County. As the authorities worked to resolve this confusion, and word spread about the 2 dead bodies in Russ's Lane, the site was suddenly overrun by morbid curiosity seekers who walked all over the area and even took souvenirs. The calling card was passed among the crowds, further contaminating the scene. As a result, the physical evidence was severely compromised, hampering the investigation from the outset. Eventually, Detective George Totten from the Somerset County Police Department took control. He moved along the crowd and arranged for the bodies to be taken to the mortuary so an autopsy could take place. This was conducted by the coroner, Dr. R.M. Long, who concluded that both had been dead for at least 36 hours and that they had been a .32 caliber gun. He could not conclusively say whether they had been at the spot where they were eventually discovered. It did not take long for the bodies to be identified. The gentleman was Edward Wheeler Hall, the 41-year-old reverend at the St. John Episcopal Church. It was his calling card that had been placed at the scene. He had been reported missing by his wife, Mrs. Frances Stevens Hall, about 24 hours earlier. She had told the police that she had not seen her husband since the evening of Thursday, the 14th of September. The lady was identified to be 33-year-old Mrs. Eleanor Reinhardt Mills, a married woman with 2 children and someone who was well known to the reverend as she sang in the church choir. But what could explain such a terrible crime against 2 well-respected and well-liked members of the local community?
With the card being left there, stuff about her life, with maybe their love and stuff like that being exchanged. I think that sounds like the wife. Maybe the wife bought it and it was like, oh yeah, you're gonna do this to me. There's a movie with Martin Lawrence. I can't remember. Let me see if I can find it. Martin Lawrence movies in the 90s. hmm The name of the movie is called A Thin Line Between Love and Hate. And the story was that, Martin Lawrence was, just like this. He was trying to come up, but, he didn't have no money like that. But he met a wealthy lady, and she was older than him. And she was basically like, the entire movie, don't play with me. I'm serious. If you into me, I'm serious. But, he playing games, acting up. And so eventually she caught on that he was playing her because he had met another young lady. And so she caught on. And so she started following him around and harassing him and stuff like that. And she ended up trying to unalive him. And I think she ended up getting taken to jail because this and that and the third. But this kind of seems like that, money. And so I'm going to catch you. But in this time period, we really don't have the technology to catch up with people. Because like once you're gone, you're gone. And so it is what it is, man. I'm gonna stop the movie right there and we come right back. But yeah, this is kind of interesting. So until next time, like, share, subscribe, comment. Let me know what your thoughts so far. Until next time, take it easy.